Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my YouTube channel with another video.
This time we will be talking about the idea of the 28th notebook and how I made my 28th notebook for the revision of NEET MDS exam.
To the NEET MDS aspirants, one of the biggest concern for you guys is how to revise all of that 20 to 25 subjects one day or 1 week prior to your examination, and how to collect and revise all that data that you have studied for the past 2 years, past 1 year for this exam, one night before the exam. So the idea of the 28 notebook is to keep all that data, volatile data, concise, written in a short form in a small notebook so that it can be easily revised 1 week before your exam or even 1 day before your exam without you getting panicked. So it is finding the right information at the right time. So this single notebook has made me achieve an All India rank of 222 in my first attempt. It is a very strong revision system. And why I say strong? Because I have kept revising my 20th notebook the 20 number or more than times. So it is not just you keep writing the stuff, it is about you following the consistency of revision. It is you who will make sure to keep this updated till your last grand test, till your last mistake that you have attempted in the grand test. So what I did was, I went to the stationery and asked the stationery bhaiya to give me the smallest possible book with A4 size and the concise book as possible, and he gave me this one. It is all empty pages, it is all A4 size, so you can jot down in as smallest font as possible, so that you would be like bas itna sa hi padna hai 1 day prior, and you will be set up with your volatile and the basic stuff before the exam. So what I did is I divided the entire book into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 subjects. The first one was oral pathology, clinical features, and what else did I write? The zones of enamel, zones of dentinal caries, what is magic syndrome, melanoma, osteomalacia, all that in a very concise form.
Starting with, this is my first page where I have written all the number of questions for each subject. Like basics is part A for 100 marks, clinicals part B 140 questions. This was the pattern in the year 2024. And then the book of important formulas to be revised one night before the exam, genes, dates, names, flowcharts, data, mnemonics to be by hearted, 240 questions, 960 marks and all that. And then the famous quote by Dr.IfrahKhan, you can only fight the way you practice. This was the motto behind this book, that I need to practice this as much as possible times as possible. And even the first page, I have just written down all the volatile stuff, like males are more frequently diagnosed with autism, 4:1 is the ratio. And then cerebral palsy के types लिखा है, where words have power, be kind always. Cysteine has radio opaque stones are formed by cysteine. And then if you are a series person, you would know that the average guy, what does this mean? The IQ level, the IQ range for average was 9, that is 90 to 109. So I have made this cute little emoji of 9:9, the average guy and all that. So this was a little thing. And
your previous year's questions, your discussion, whatever you have discussed with your staff, with your mentor, whatever discussion that has happened in these 2 years of preparation, the mistakes that you have attempted in your grand tests, in your weekly tests, and the information from the pulse of all the subjects. This is the information that you have studied for 2 years. Maybe you have taken a drop, additional 3 years. You have started in your internship, that is 1 year. 1 year is more than enough for the preparation. Whatever years that you have put into this, all of that is stored as an information in your brain. Now, when you talk about your brain, you have to have it activated in the examination for you to connect the dots for an answer. Now, if you keep revising those things in a very linear fashion, without any repetitions, without any connections, without any diagrams, you won't remember it very adamantly on the day of exam. You need a system. You need a system for you to keep revising, so that a pattern is formed in your brain. A pattern is formed in your brain, so that whenever a question is asked, you can answer it quickly. Okay, why I'm telling you all this is because this is the idea behind the 20th notebook. This is the idea for me to keep writing all of this in a very concise manner, to form some patterns, to form some ideologies, to form some diagrams, so that your brain needs to just click whenever that question comes. And for that you need to put in efforts. For that you need to put in some efforts to create your 20th notebook. Microbiology and a combination of all mind, but most of the volatile information. For example, nuclei of trigeminal nerve, nuclei of glossopharyngeal nerve, and then tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve is known as Jacobson's nerve. What is Alderman's nerve? What is Vidian's nerve? We may get confused in these three. So I have written all of these three down. The ideal time to make your 20th notebook is basically whenever you start your preparation. I made it 4 months before the NEET MDS exam. Not an ideal time, but I made sure that I want to make something like this so that it would be easy for me to revise it. So take a concise notebook and start writing down the information you feel it is volatile. Not everything has to be written down in this. And do not make beautiful notes. It is not for Instagram, it is for yourself. Make it messy, but make sure it is understandable for you. And use colorful pens. I did not mean beautiful means not using colorful pens. Colorful pens, for me, it makes associations in the brain for me to quickly remember it. So I have put in some efforts to make it colorful so that I can remember the information well. Write only volatile information. Not every history and everything has to be written down, only the volatile information. And then revise it repeatedly. I have revised it 10 times, the full book 10 times before the exam. It takes almost 1 hour for me to revise this entire thing quickly. I have got a habit of reading and everything, so that information, it keeps updating in my brain. So you have to revise it repeatedly. There's no point in making a 20th notebook if you do not open it frequently. If you say to yourself that I would only revise it once I fully complete it, you have to keep updating your 20th notebook till the end of the examination, till the end of your grand test. Whatever you feel कि हाँ ये important है, I should write it down, you should write it down. Or simply saying keep updating it last minute, and it will take a lot of time for you to concise the information. You have to spend in efforts, and the efforts will only make count. The efforts will be only possible if you are a very hardworking student. If you want your brain to get activated by writing it down, by revising it, that's how there's link, that's how patterns are formed in your brain. And whenever that question will appear in front of you, you will be able to write it down. And previous year questions are your roadmap. So whatever question that has repeatedly asked, you can capture the question, recall the question, and write in whichever subject it is of. And read it multiple times. So what has to be written in each part? So I'm giving you an example of my perio notes. So this is a diagrammatic representation of various plates that could be asked as an image based question. The biological width, curettage, incision, external bevel, internal bevel, and then incision for partial thickness flap. And then BioOS is a xenograph which was frequent entire book, was filled with information that I have spent days, months, hours. And the most special, although I was very keen of doing everything because it was very volatile. Ortho to me was very volatile, so I made very concise notes of these. Took a lot of time.